Hi there, BETTERBUILT. It's a game changer here, Gen GC. So, great work on the defence there. 38% is well above team average, but let's see if we can make it better and have a little look at some of the other things that we might be able to do a little bit different. So, first thing first, if you look at your defenders, your troops, so I did have Dragoon and I did max it thinking it was going to be the defence unit, but found that it didn't work the way I expected. It's not particularly good at anti-air. So what happens is basically if there's some helicopters, if you will, it kind of targets everything but them. It doesn't kind of work the way that's expected. So I think you'd be far better to go 12 seconds and have 2 ghosts, then 12 seconds, 2 ghosts, and then another 12 or even possibly 18 and have 3 ghosts. One thing you've got to consider as well is your spawn times there. Even if you're stuck with that, it's going to be 42 seconds before you get any anti-air coming out of your kind of infantry barracks, where really you want that probably on 12 seconds. So, you know, if you go for two sets of 2, if you will, then after 24 seconds you're going to have ultimately 4 ghosts working for you, rather than kind of 42 seconds before 2 come out, if that makes sense. So you need to have a think about your spawn time, but I certainly think that should be all ghost, and you'll find that more effective. The ghost as well, yeah, anti-air, but it also absolutely destroys light vehicles and heavy vehicles alike, so it's really probably the best all-round defence unit. Perfect on the sense naturally, and same on the helipad, so that's absolutely fantastic. And I like what you've done here with the NEMs, so you've done that correctly, and that's probably how you should interpret the kind of infantry as well. But I don't think Spooky really is going to cut it as a defence unit. It was back in the day, but certainly not nowadays. So that probably wants to be 2-2, and then maybe sort of 3 or 4 NEMs. But certainly keep the 2 and the 2, because if somebody airstrikes directly, if NEMs are their threat, then you will find that you can still get 4 out before they get the first airstrike in. So keep those first 2 low numbers. If you haven't been airstrike, then obviously you get out as many as you can, but you keep the first 2 like that. And Terminator, I'm not convinced that's the correct way to work. And again, obviously you're spacing 18 then 36 seconds, but Terminator, when it first was brought out, you needed to par it with basically Grizzly as well, as because it didn't have any countermeasures, it doesn't deploy troops afterwards. So I would go Grizzly, because Grizzly does shoot down quite a lot of enemy projectiles, if you will, and then obviously when it's done for, you've got the troops coming out as well, as so it's double bubble or double trouble even. So I would probably swap that back personally, would be my opinion. Now looking at your base, now, a couple of things I observed here. The first is, probably tucking the war factory behind that wall is going to give you some protection. I still think the CC would be better than the wall personally, but see how that sort of works. I do know from experience trying to dig these out is not easy. That wall has to bring you kind of round, so they're quite difficult to get the wall factory out of that. So it may well serve its purpose. So that's cool. I'm just very, very mindful though, you've got at least, 1, 2, 3, 4 machine guns that I can count here, and machine guns just don't cut it. They're not strong enough, and most enemy vehicles or troops are kind of like built in with ballistic protection, so your machine guns then wouldn't work, or certainly wouldn't work in any great sort of effect. So I think that needs to be changed personally. What I'm really surprised at is there's no SAMs. So knowing full well that I'll probably try and take your sense out first if I did airstrike. So coming this way with the airstrike is obviously how I would tackle it. Now even if I don't get them out, I'm going to get another chance, probably a third chance, because apart from your heavy flak, and probably a little bit of machine gun cover, there's no anti-air. Yes, okay, you've got the sense, but the the level SAMs that you should be putting in. I mean, I've got 3 level 7 SAMs, all single boosted, and generally I have them kind of, again, assuming the direction of flight is coming in this way, then I would have the SAM kind of about here, and I'd have another one on this side here. And then in fact I've actually got another one here. So the idea is that you choose what you think your opponent's going to try and take out first, and make sure they don't get another chance to use those F-35s, because 3 level 7 SAMs will probably take out all his F-35s, and he'll not get another chance, and that then starts putting him under pressure, because he's probably then thinking, fuck, I want to take out the garage next, and so on and so forth, and he cannot. Now I would probably swap the CC and the kind of wall over, in a sense. I mean, I think if when you're coming in, or possibly even from the other side, if you're coming in from, say, this side here, having it set up so that your base is kind of like pushed to one end as you've done it is a great sort of strategy. And if you're finding the F-35 isn't getting that war factory out, then obviously it's working nicely. I'd maybe swap the airfield and the helipad over, so that the airfield is giving a much sort of better protection for the centre of the base with the NEMs. We've mentioned obviously taking the spooky out of that. I think that would be appropriate as well. And I think it's just going to be stuff like that, really. I don't think particularly that you're doing anything wrong. I think everything's going to work well. I think you need probably maybe a little bit more howitzer in there as well. I'd be just kind of mindful of what's your fob blocking. I mean, I can see one howitzer. I quite like the railgun. I know some people don't agree with a railgun in there, but I find it particularly useful. I don't know if I'd go 2. I'd probably go a bit more howitzer orientated, just so I've got great fob blocking. Careful about walls as well. Upgrade walls any further. I know they obviously absorb quite a lot of XP, and you want to be managing that at your level. And that's really all I would comment on. Everything else is working really, really good. Spawn looks like you covered quite well. Mine placement, I'd probably have that mine maybe a little bit more where the oil is there, so it's more directly in between the 2 buildings, so that it covers a bit better. And like I said, that's it. There's very, very little. I think it's probably just a mixture of the troops, and I suspect that you're vulnerable to F-35 attack at the very least. So that's probably what I would tighten up. Cheers, bro.